Hello, friends and beautiful people. Hello, hello. Getting a little sip of coffee here. It is Kathryn Massell, Conscious Creatrix, Elevated Consciousness Coach, and 5D Visionary. Hello. I wanted to talk really quickly about something that is very, very important for those of you who are, well, it's important for everyone here in 3D reality. Anyone who has a body, anyone who's currently drawing breath, the ability to play with and manipulate time is something that is incredibly empowering, and I want to tell you why. Because if I can speak about it in terms of benefits, maybe you'll understand how important it is to use time as a tool, a technology, to drive your whole experience forward in ways that you cannot even begin to wrap your mind around. Maybe many of you are familiar with the fact that I am teaching a masterclass series right now, Timelines Expanded, where I am talking about the nature of time, how humans create time. Hey, Courtney. How humans create timelines, how we use our emotions to create timestamps of experience in our lives that we keep recreating. I'm talking about collapsing timelines that are not driving our experience forward anymore. They have nothing to show us, nothing left to give us in terms of what I call gifts in the garbage, where we can learn a lesson, download it, and mark it complete, and then move on with our lives with free energy, opening up free energy within us. We're talking about bending, stretching, unstacking time. That happens on Saturday. That's happening tomorrow at 11. We're talking about quantum jumping time, merging time. And so this sounds, at first blush like something that's kind of just academic and, oh, that sounds like it'd be fun to learn. It is not, and I cannot stress this enough. It's not just like a fun thing to learn and then kind of say, that's interesting, and that's something, one to grow on for me, something to think about, something to kind of store away and keep in my back pocket and think about sometime later. No, not the way I'm teaching this. The way I'm teaching this, and maybe Courtney can validate this for me, is not only are we talking about the nature of kind of deconstructing what we think of as time in the 3D time matrix and being able to not necessarily understand it, because that implies that we're just getting it with our intellect, but rather to have an experiential comprehension of it, where we have this kind of kinesthetic relationship with time, very much so, because time is generated, perpetuated in 3D by humans and their emotions. So we control it. We are the wielders of energy here in 3D, and time is just a construct within that energy matrix, within, let's just say, the energy matrix, or what you think of as the one-all, pure source consciousness, the unified field. The 3D time matrix is nestled within that. It's just a part of that. And when we learn how to wield 3D time as a tool, as a technology, that once we get to do that, we get to recreate and reshape the fabric of our entire life based on how we then shift our perception of time, because it has everything to do with having a tangible, experiential relationship with time, but a perceptual understanding of time. And time works exactly the way we perceive it. It just so happens that up till now, we've had a collective agreement in the human family about how to look at, how to compartmentalize, how to organize time. But this is not by any means or way, shape, or form the truth about time. It's just that we've kind of collectively agreed, hey, we're all going to use it this way. But for those of us who are on this path of bringing humanity forward, of helping humanity wake up out of the dream, the illusion of not only time, but the holographic version of self, the 3D scope of our projection that has to do with ego, I don't want to use the word truth, but it's just a projection. It's just a holograph of self based on all the information, the feedback we get on a sensory level from our environment. And we come up with this thing, we're like, this is me. But that's only a very, very small fraction of who you are. It's only a tidbit, and really only a partial truth of who you actually are. And when you start working with time, when you learn how to accelerate, slow down time. You learn how to stretch it so that you can savor more of the best moments in life, so that you can unstack time, so that you are able to access more of those moments that you prefer. Yes, you can do that. So that you can, when you unstack time, you accelerate it. When you stretch time, you are slowing it down. And this is all based on your perception of it, but it's based on your preference. It's based on your desires. So when you are more tuned into what you want and the kind of life that you would like to be living, and you know the tools, the technology of being able to work with, play with, mold time like clay in your fingers, an incredible amount of empowerment ensues. And you begin to, because you understand your perceptual understanding of time is based largely on your emotions. And there's a constant feedback cycle in how we create time and the reality of who we think we are. There's a feedback cycle there. But when you change that, when you change one of those variables, inevitably the other one will change to mirror that change. So when you are working with time and you learn how to mold it to your whim, to your preference of how you want your life to be, of how you desire your life to be, and how you want to take that forward, your whole emotional reaction to life changes, and the way you perceive life changes, the way you perceive other people, the way you perceive situations, events, experiences. And when that changes, you unhook from, let's just say, this mass consciousness where we've all collectively agreed on, well, it's just this way here. It's this finite way. It's this very confined way. It's this very rigid way. We think of time as a rigid construct, but when you start playing with it, you realize how fluid, how malleable, how alchemical time really is. Apparently Facebook isn't super happy with me talking about playing with time. I typed a reply and it was deleted based on violating community standards. Oh, that's interesting. If you can message me what that was, I'd love to know what that was, Courtney. Hey, Dina. Hi, Angela. So I want to tell you about, because I really want you to understand the benefits of working with time. And so class number 3, there's 5 classes in this masterclass series of Timelines Expanded. Class 3 is tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time on Zoom. You can still join us. You can join us on an ongoing basis. The way I'm unhooking from mass consciousness, I'm pretty much going to teach classes where you can join anytime, because that's how I want to unhook from mass consciousness. But what I want to talk about is the benefit of working with something as powerful of a tool and a construct here in 3D reality that really molds our experience here in ways that we often don't think about. The way we compartmentalize and organize our entire lives is based on the structure and the construct of time here in 3D reality. But when you unhook from that, you unhook from these kind of collective agreements that we hold in the hive mind mentality about the way life is or the way life should be, and the way things are ordered here. And when you do that, it is not only kind of an act of rebellion, but it completely liberates you from you thinking that you are subject to a certain experience here based on the rigid strictures of time, based on the rigid strictures of mass consciousness and what everyone believes is possible. When you start to shift that for yourself, you reclaim your authority to create your reality as you prefer, okay? So a friend of mine started a group, 21 Days of Abundance, over the last 21 days, and we just finished up yesterday. And as I was crafting this masterclass series to put together and teach it, and also playing with the technology and the tool of time, the 3D time matrix, while putting that course together, that masterclass together, I was concurrently taking this 21 Days of Abundance course. And so a really interesting thing was happening as I was working in both realms. Number one, there was the guidelines set by the gal who ran the group that, you know what, if you can't commit to doing this 21 Days of Abundance and showing up every day to do this work, making time, creating free time so that you could do this, you were invited to basically opt out of the group. And so I'm always working on 10 million things at a time. I like a lot of irons in the fire. That's just me. I like to be busy. I love what I do, and I don't think of it as me being stressed or having busy work. Like, I'm always creating, I'm always alchemizing, I am always creating new pathways and passageways for people to learn about how to move into 5D, and I love being busy with that. Or let's just say being very proactive and productive with that. So I was like, I really want to do this 21 Days of Abundance. It's something that comes from Deepak Chopra's Institute, and it's super, super awesome. And it's a way to kind of reframe and refresh your ideas about abundance and do daily meditations to help you check into that. So here I am in my 3D avatar self trying to tackle all these things and then saying, I'm not sure that I can commit to this 21 Days of Abundance. Should I just opt out? And I was like, no. Here's where you put your money where your mouth is, Kath, and here is where you start bending and stretching time so you can make this coursework totally easy for you to do and stress-free. Because I didn't want to go into this 21 Days of Abundance group and be stressed out all the time. That didn't make any sense to me. But I wanted to create time, create a container in which I could be fully present and do this work and create everything I needed to do I have a couple ongoing classes right now. So I was like, well, what I'm going to do is basically figure out how to unstack time, literally accelerate past certain things that I feel like I have to do or are part of, let's just say, the way I need to organize my day to run my business, and move into a place where I have plenty of time all the time to access what I prefer. And I kind of made this my mantra. And so I helped myself out by organizing my day and giving myself specific, let's just say, blocks of time to complete certain tasks. And that helped me to stretch time in my day. And I found that as I created this intention of, I will have plenty of time all the time to access the interests that I prefer, this intention, this declaration, this agreement that I was creating with the universe helped me to kind of shift out of the things where I felt like, or I could see in better contrast, the things that weren't a priority. The things that I could say, you know what, that can wait till later. I don't have to do this now. And it was this kind of easy and graceful transition to kind of reprioritize and organize my day based on what I preferred to pursue, the interests that I was designing to access. Everything shifted. And it's about that perception. It's that level where you can be aware with, hey, this is what's going on, and saying, well, what do I prefer here? I don't prefer this right now. So I can unstack time and my investment in things, and your investment is wherever you're putting your energy in terms of your focus and your attention. If I wasn't putting my energy or investing my energy in terms of my focus, my attention into these things that I didn't consider high priority, I could unstack myself, or unstack time, I should say, and my investment in time where I had to do those things, and they just naturally fell away. But I created the intention that I will get to that later, but it's not a priority for me right now. But I have plenty of time all the time to access the interests that I prefer. And this mantra kept a certain energy flowing where I felt like no deficit of energy. I felt like a constant influx of new energy and a sense of empowerment by feeling like I am really creating time. I am shifting this time matrix to work for me, And we often feel like that's not the case. And a lot of the stress and tension that comes into our lives is because we feel like, here we are living lives that are more busy than ever, but how productive are we being? Because our perception is on, it's kind of this hive mind mentality, this mass consciousness, that if we're not being busy, we're not contributing as humans to this human family. We have to be busy. But here's the shift in our perception. How can I be productive? And then you turn the expectation away from the focus of the hive mind mentality of it's important to be busy. You're not really doing anything. You're not worth your salt unless you're busy, to completely internalizing that, to prioritizing your energy towards what is driving your interests, your desires, your dreams, your visions forward by saying, you know what, I'm going to invest my time and fund the 3D time matrix based on the preference of my interests. Not only do you unplug from the hive mind, the mass consciousness from that, but you are actually contributing to the forward movement of the next wave of mass consciousness, the elevated mass consciousness that happens as we go 5D. Because if you have more time to be present, if you have more time to pursue the things that are a priority for you, that gets downloaded into the mass consciousness as, hey, here's a way we can do this. Here's a way we shift out of disempowerment. Here's a way we shift out of allocating time towards things that just feel like busy work. And we can download into the mass consciousness, here's how we shift and play and perceive time so we can be productive. Because when you make that choice on an individual level, you inform the collective. Because there's no separation between any of us. So when we make powerful choices like this, we inform not only our own individual consciousness and elevate that by prioritizing our time, funding time towards what we prefer, but you download that into the mass consciousness vault of perception. That's powerful. And if you don't understand how powerful it is to shift out of the old mass consciousness and certain constructs and paradigms that are keeping humanity in darkness, keeping humanity asleep, if you're a thought leader and you're a way shower, you're an energy healer who has grand designs on taking humanity forward and elevating people's consciousness to opt out of 3D, if you don't know how to take people forward out of opting out of the 3D time matrix, you're not doing a complete job. This is a big part of our major next pivot, the major pivot forward that's going to take humanity out of being asleep, out of the illusion, out of that connection where what a lot of people don't get is humans create time in 3D through our emotions. Okay, it's bigger than that, and I talk about that more. But that's basically the long and short of it. And the reason why we think of time as an illusion in 3D, and it is because our perception is from an illusion of self. Because the 3D avatar of self is largely an illusion. It's a holograph. So what we're perceiving as time, it's coming from an illusory version of self. It's coming from an illusion of self. It's not complete. It's only a part of who you are. And so the way we're looking at time and the very limited and confined way we are viewing and perceiving time in 3D has everything to do with the perceiver. And if the perceiver is an illusion, then of course it's going to holograph or project that as a construct that's an illusion. And if you are able to just kind of pop into or pop out of your 3D avatar and just pop out where you feel like, this is me as my higher self, viewing all of this and seeing the game that we're playing, I don't have to play this game anymore. And in fact, in this version of who you are, when you have your higher self conducting the show instead of the ego, which is keeping you in that 3D avatar of self, which is a very limited and confined scope of projection, with the higher self knows exactly what game is being played of you keeping the illusion going in 3D, and it says, well, there's different rules of engagement with 5D. Let's play with those instead. And it's from that level of perception that you get to mold and wield and morph and bend and collapse and stretch and unstack time. This is not as nebulous and esoteric as it sounds, because the way I teach it, it's very practical. I strip this down so it's very simple for you to understand. And again, I don't like using the word understand because that implies just getting something from a level of intellect. It's experiential, and that's where the practicum comes in. That's where the practicing with the tool of time comes in. So not only is there discussion, but there is practice in this masterclass series, because any tool, any technology is only as good as our ability to apply it to our everyday lives and understand the benefits of it. A tool is no good unless you can understand the benefits of it, right? And have a real working knowledge of how to apply this tool to get the benefits, right? That's what I'm sharing in this masterclass series. So in the next class, which is tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, we are talking about bending time. And we're talking about, when we talk about bending time, the way I talk, there's a lot of ways to bend time, but specifically I'm going to talk about it in terms of how we slow it down and how we accelerate it. And what would be those events or moments in time where you want to slow down time, or you want to accelerate it or unstack it. And slowing down time is about stretching it. It's about literally slowing down the clock of time. totally possible. And accelerating it is moving past those things, as I explained earlier in this talk, moving past those things that aren't a priority for you. Moving past the things so that you can access what you are interested in. And there's a way to say that and kind of formulate that so that you're using this as a tool all the time. And when you start using time as a tool and wielding it as a powerful construct for reshaping the fabric of your life, you start to have a different emotional reaction to your outer world, which only mirrors more empowerment, more control that you feel in your inner world. And whenever we unlock that alchemy of feeling more empowerment, more of the benefits of being able to take the force of our will, the force of our determination to create a different set of experiences in our life, and you start seeing and feeling and knowing the direct benefits of that right away, you naturally unhook from mass consciousness. Because mass consciousness has a lot to do with feeling disempowered, with feeling that life is a struggle, that life is suffering. As we move mass consciousness forward, we have many, many, many more opportunities to opt out of struggle, to opt out of suffering, to opt out of karma, which keeps us in this loop of, oh, there's something else for me to learn here. There's more polarity. There's more duality for me to explore. When you keep unplugging from that, you'll realize, hey, you know what? I've already gone through all the polarity and duality I could ever need to explore. Now it's time to take this forward. And being able to unhook from time and thereby unhook from mass consciousness as you do that is the way to elevate humanity forward. Out of feeling asleep, out of feeling like someone else is pulling the strings. If you feel like you're the one pulling the strings, then there's no more victim-perpetrator polarity to explore. There's no more, feeling of puppeteer that you need, of duality that you need to explore. This is empowering. This is where you understand how you can use the force of your will and the desire of your intentions and your preference to completely reshape the fabric of your entire reality. And there's only one way to learn how to do this, because as far as I've seen, no one else is teaching this, not in this way, where it's very experiential, where you have actual tools that are simple and easy to understand and use them in your everyday life to start seeing the benefits right away. I have looked far and wide for any kind of course like this. It doesn't exist. So I was like, well, I'll create it. For less than $200, you will be able to see real, tangible, practical benefits that you can reap right away from using these tools. If you're not in this class, I simply don't know why. Especially if you feel called to drive in your own way, to drive humanity forward out of darkness. This is how we begin to do this, by unhooking from the construct and the illusion of the 3D time matrix, and understanding that you can opt out of this and opt into the greater energy matrix and completely reshape your life. So I hope that you will join us. This is really, really cool. So much fun to teach, so much fun to see how I could not only do that 21 days of abundance, but when I started working with time, as I was going through the 21 days of abundance course, here's the other thing I wanted to say, was that I was noticing that as I was unhooking more and more from time and learning how to play with the 3D time matrix and mold time based on my preferences, based on my priorities, I understood that it opened up more pockets for me to receive abundance. That was a direct benefit that I felt like right away. And inside of that 3 weeks, in fact, 2 weeks in to that program, I felt myself viewing and perceiving abundance in different ways that I wasn't privy to before, just by doing this work of being able to unhook from time. That's going to happen for you too. So there it is, folks. There's my plug. There is my semi-hard sell on this program, but it really is life-changing. And this material is so eye-opening, and no one else is teaching it like this. So if you want a fun and interactive experience that's going to kind of blow your mind, but where you walk away with real tools to help you shift your life into more empowerment, this is a great program for you. And if you don't know anybody, or if you don't feel like this is for you, but maybe you know somebody that would like this, please share this video. Please, feel free to share this far and wide. So I just want to wish you guys so much love and peace, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.